this, the Friday, the Halloween, the pre-game 6. There's a list of things, the end of the work week edition of the Todd Veinotte Show. I hope you're having a fantastic day. It is Halloween, of course, and a number of us here at the radio station are in the Halloween spirit. I had my first chocolate bar at just after 8 o'clock this morning. So that tells you that it's going to be something special if I'm eating candy that early. The unfortunate part with Halloween is it's a little wet out there, and we look like we're going to see some more rain throughout the day. There may be a window. There may be an opportunity for you to get out there and get the kids the fix that they need, I will say, for their candy haul because of the way that the system's working. Alistair Alders is going to go over the weather patterns for us, and he's going to join us in hour 3 today to give you the very latest, so you can plan your night if you're willing to risk it, if you're willing to go out and put the rubber boots on, I'll say, and bring the umbrella. I know that it's more about the parents than the kids, right? The kids don't care; they wet and they'll just go and eat their candy. But parents, on the other hand, that are out there with them probably won't be as enthusiastic to go at. So we'll get the very latest forecast for you in hour number 3 today. I hope that you can stick around. Obviously, lots of buzz in the city. It's Game 6 tonight. The Blue Jays can win the World Series. Can you believe that? Can win the World Series. They have 2 shots. They've got tonight and they've got tomorrow night. And I know many people are planning their Halloween excursions to be home for 9 o'clock tonight so that they can watch the first pitch. Or, as we like to do here, listen to it on the radio. And we of course, will be bringing you that also. And not forget the Mooseheads. The Mooseheads are on the road. They're in action tonight as well. So we'll do what we've been doing through the playoffs to be the best of both worlds. And we'll have the Blue Jays on the radio, actually on the radio at 95.7. And then because of Major League Baseball rules, which kind of helped us out this year, I'll be honest, we can't stream the baseball games. We never have been able to stream the baseball games. So if you you're listening to the show right now on a smartphone or on your smart speaker or on Seeker app or whatever it is, and you want to hear the ball game, you're going to have a radio to do that tonight if you want to listen to it. If not, you can listen to the Mooseheads game on the stream. So it's the best of both worlds. And as I've been doing since way back in the American League Division Series, I have the Jays game on the radio, and I have the Mooseheads game on the smart speaker, and I'm in sports person's absolute utopia when this is happening. I think I'll be paying, and no offense to the Mooseheads, but I think I'll be paying a little bit more attention to the Jays just because of the levity and the possibility of them winning their 3rd World Series in their history. I don't know if this was by design or if this was just a freak of scheduling, but we're having a Halloween edition. Vanessa's dressed up, I'm dressed up, and it's time for our, well, I guess we can call this quarterly conversation with the mayor of HRM, and he's in the studio today. And first off, Mayor Fillmore, welcome.
Thank you, Dan. Good to be with you for the Todd Veinotte Halloween Spooktacular.
There you go. You're dressed up as the mayor of Halifax.
I have.
Good job of it.
Thank you very much. It's costume I had at the ready, so it was ready to go this morning.
You'll be here for the next 30 minutes to answer some questions, and we'll try to get to some calls if we can. So if you want to get into the line, it's open 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. I guess we'll start, Mayor Fillmore. We're just over a year now in your term as mayor, your first term as mayor. Your thoughts, I guess, broadly on the first year as wearing that chain of office around your neck.
Yeah, well, thanks for the question, and I thought it would be fun to share with your listeners that Dan is dressed as the Grim Reaper this morning, and he's had sugar before 8 a.m. So, this might get a little boisterous. We'll see how it goes. It's been a great first year. I said when I was elected that my optimism for the future of our municipality has never been higher. That still holds. We are doing well when other cities in the country are having some struggles with their growth. We continue to be a place where people are investing, where families are choosing to come and relocate, where businesses are starting, where there's tremendous and growing amounts of federal investment, particularly around the Canadian Armed Forces right now.
Right.
So I think there's no better city to be in Canada right now than Halifax, and I'm so very proud of everybody who's made this place what it is today. So it's been a good first year. Obviously, a few bumps in the road. Like when there's a new mayor, like when there's a new leader in any organization, there's going to be some friction, some learning about how to get along in a different way. But I don't think friction necessarily means disagreement. I think that's just the sound of gears meshing. We're finding our way of working together as we all knew we would, and I'm very optimistic for the coming year.
Because of some of that friction, Mayor, I take a lot of calls from people that say that council is currently dysfunctional. Do you disagree with that?
It's a room full of people who care deeply for the communities they represent. They come from a wide, I'll include myself in that. We come from a wide variety of different backgrounds, and half of the crew is new, and there's a new mayor. So, is there dysfunction? I think what there is us finding our way of working together under very new circumstances of different personalities, and at a moment in our city's growth and in history where things are complicated. 21st century is a complicated place, and we're all grappling with those challenges and the opportunities that come with it. That's
Mayor Andy Fillmore. He's here for the next little while. Another question that comes up quite frequently is your relationship with the Premier of Nova Scotia. How is your relationship with Tim Houston?
It's very, very good, very positive. I've worked extremely hard, starting from my time as MP to maintain good relationships with the Premier and his cabinet. That has paid tremendous dividends. To think of, for example, about the way that we're able to find better solutions for our homeless population. Rebuilding that relationship has really brought the provincial government and its employees together with our employees, and we now are building credible road paths forward to get people out of tents. Today, we have more spaces available indoors than there are people living in tents, and we'll continue our pattern of encampment closures just as quickly as those indoor, safer, better supported spaces come online. So that's just one of the ways that this new relationship with the province is paying off, and it feels really good to have a partner. We're a small province. We're 500,000 people in this city. We're not the biggest province or city in the country, but my gosh, aren't our odds better at doing the greatest things that we can if the provincial and municipal governments are working together?
All that being said, Mayor, my experience here, I've been in Halifax now 16 or 17 years. I've not seen as much reaction to municipal decisions that I've seen from this government. I think of Morris Street, and now I think of Dartmouth Cove. It's an interesting dynamic.
I think it's a product of the fact that we have a premier who is keenly interested in the success of our capital region. He's keenly focused on developing economic opportunity here at home so that we can become more self-sufficient economically. Again, this is part of the complicated 21st century. I think it's really important that the provincial government is taking an interest in its capital city. That perhaps is a bit of a departure from what we're used to here, but welcome, because these, the cost of infrastructure that we're facing, the complicated decisions, it's good to have a partner in all that.
We know that that municipal councils are creatures of the provincial government, right? You work at the whim of them. You exist because of legislation that they put forward, and they're normally, or they are, kind of looked over by the Minister of Municipal Affairs, which has just changed. It's now John MacDonald. Have you had a conversation with the new minister since he's taken over?
Yeah, I've got a longstanding friendship with John A. MacDonald, the new minister, and just yesterday I had a meeting in my office with Minister MacDonald and Minister Tilley, who is the Minister of Public Works and Transportation in the province. So that was the Minister of Municipal Affairs and the Minister of Transportation and Infrastructure together in the Mayor's office. That speaks volumes about the way that we're working together and intend to continue to work together. We also had Mayor Cecil Clark from CBRM in the room, and Mayor Pam Mood of Yarmouth, who is also the president of the Nova Scotia Federation of Municipalities. So really was a conversation about continuing the collaborations that the provincial government has with all 49 municipalities in the province so that we can be stronger together.
Did the Halifax regional plan come up in that discussion?
No, it did not. The regional plan, I think, is on a really good path right now. I identified a schedule that will put it in front of the minister for approval before the end of this year. When it was rejected in the summer, there were some predictions that it might take more than a year to get it back on track. But I just credit our municipal staff immensely for putting all the effort and time in. And I must also credit the fact that the provincial staff have met them right in the middle, and the two teams have been working together brilliantly for months, and we're going to get this thing done before the end of the year.
There was discussion before the session of the legislature that there was some discussion between the mayor of Halifax and the premier or the Minister of Municipal Affairs about strong mayor powers. That seemed to go away as this latest session came into action. I don't know if you can call 8 days action, but that's neither here nor here. You don't get a decision on how long they're sitting.
No, that's exactly right.
Mayor Fillmore, has that discussion ended, or is that still in the works?
I put that behind me. I made the case to my colleagues that perhaps it was time to look at some modifications to our governance system that would make our decision-making at City Hall more directly accountable to the will of voters at the ballot box. I'll say again, we live in a complicated time, and more efficient decision making perhaps is something that we could have looked at. We haven't gone that way, and that's fine. I had said from the beginning of that conversation, as long ago as a year ago, that I will work as hard as I can in whatever system is before me, and this is the one. And so we're getting right to work, and I'm glad that the cloud of that prospect has moved from over the heads of my council colleagues, and we can focus on the work now.
Some of those tough decisions are coming up very shortly, and that is the budgeting process. You and I had a pretty frank discussion about it during our birthday broadcast of all times down at the Westin about the state of the finances of HRM and where you have to go. I've asked several councillors since about the budget and asked them about sort of untouchables or as I called them, golden gooses, areas that they're not willing to look at to find efficiencies or find savings or worst case scenario make cuts. Do you have any areas that you're not willing to look at when we head into that budget process and we look to find that 10% that we need to be at zero moving forward?
It's a tough question, Dan, because you're asking me to pick winners and losers. I would say that going into this budget, I'm not sure that anything is a sacred object. Sometimes around the staff at HRM, they call them the baby seals. No one wants to club the baby seals.
Right.
What are there some baby seals that we won't touch this year? I don't know. I do know this. There was an Abacus poll nationwide a few weeks ago that put cost of living and affordability the number one concern of Canadians by an incredibly wide margin. Cost of housing had half as many hits, so 67% of Canadians are focused on affordability, half that number on housing, a third that number on climate. I mean, this is a runaway rates. Affordability is the issue for people in Canada and here in Nova Scotia, and I've been doing my best to raise that awareness with my colleagues and with the staff going into this budget process. There will be some tough decisions.
Councillor Gillis was in here on Monday on Councillors on the Hot Seat and said the word cuts several times in our discussion. When this budget process, I know it's crystal balling because it's a long process and there's a lot of wheels in motion, lots of balls in the air, so to speak, a lot of spells to be cast to go with my wizard outfit here today. But that being said, Mayor Fillmore, are residents of HRM going to see some of the services that they've become accustomed to reduced or cut as part of this upcoming budget?
So my focus will be on maintaining core service delivery. So we can talk about what is core and what's not core. I think over time the budget has drifted off into some really nice things to do. But the words of the Prime Minister a week ago are ringing in my ears when he said in their upcoming budget, which will be tabled on Tuesday. He said Canadians are going to have to do fewer of the things we want to do so that we can do more of the things we need to do. And that again is my message for our budget. So that means focusing on core services, delivering them well, making sure buses are running, making sure the potholes are filled, making sure garbage is getting picked up, making sure that the water system is working the way it needs to. That's the core. Those are the core things that we have a functioning fire and police stations. Those are the cores. And then after that, there'll be some conversations about what are the non-core. And in the summer that we've just had, right after our last year's budget was approved, I had a motion passed at council asking the finance staff to really come back ahead of this year's budget. So they're going to come back in late November with a hard look at what in our budget this year is core and what's not. So councillors will have a chance to understand where they're coloring outside the lines, if you will.
We're going to take our first break here. Mayor Fillmore is going to stick around until the bottom of the hour. You're listening to the Todd Veinotte Show. It's a spooky edition. I'll tell you that much. We're back after the break. Welcome back. Very pleased to have the Mayor of Halifax, the Mayor of HRM, in the studio today to answer some questions. And we've got a whole list of them here from people and from me that have emailed them. We'll try to get to a couple of phone calls, too, as we're running out of time. We never hear long enough, Mayor. You know that, right?
I'll try to stretch it a little bit, but you've probably got somebody else to talk to.
Yeah, well, we've got a busy show planned for Friday. You mentioned that we're talking about the budget beforehand, and you mentioned golden gooses. A couple of the councillors that I've spoken to over the last few weeks, Halifax, the environmental program that HRM runs, that includes things like active transportation and gets a 3% funding from tax money. A lot of them saying that that's one of their golden gooses that they won't touch. Your thoughts on Halifax and the environmental program here?
Yeah, well, they're doing incredible work. It's important work. It's an award-winning program, and the previous council did a tremendous amount of work to establish that, and a politically courageous decision to add something to the tax rate to cover it. Makes us unique in Canada. So I'm supportive of the work that the Halifax team does. But I will also say that there is no department and no project in HRM that is immune to the need to be efficient and to demonstrate what you're producing for the funds that are being invested. So as long as Halifax is producing commensurate with the way they're being funded, that's great. But is better always possible? I think better is always possible right across the board in every department. And that's I think where the council needs to focus, is making sure that we're paying into these programs proportionate to what's being delivered to citizens.
Obviously, a lot of talk when it comes to active transportation on bike lanes in the city, Mayor. I'm sure you hear it as much as I do about, there's nobody using them, the cost ballooning. Your thoughts on bike lanes? Are we going to complete this network, or is this something that we can put onto the back burner when we're in a budget crunch?
Well, look, we do need to complete that bike network, and despite how my position has been characterized, I have said that consistently throughout my past year, my first year in the mayor's chair. What I had asked for was a slight pause to look and make sure that we are investing per kilometer what we can actually afford per kilometer in the bike system. So I believe we do need to complete it. It's whether or not it needs to be gold plated. Can't we just have a functioning network? And if it costs less, we can build it out quicker. We can build it out with less disruption. So that motion failed, as you recall. However, the deputy mayor took elements of my motion and created a new motion from it. He dropped the language around impact on congestion. Yep. But everything else remained the same around impact on taxpayer. That staff report's coming back as a result of that before the budget. So the council will have another chance to have a look at, are we spending the right figure per kilometer now, or do we need to adjust that in a way that still delivers the network, but in a way that we can afford?
We're hearing numbers like $70 million more to fix it. We're hearing budget shortfalls of 50, 60, whatever the number is at that 10% deficit. Mayor Fillmore, is it too simple math to say, like, look, if we just stop the bike lanes, we're going to add $70 million to the budget?
Yeah, it is. It is too simple. One of the challenges with the bike network is it's fragmented and therefore not well used. So it's hard to judge its success right now, because it's like we've built a house with half the bricks missing. So of course it's a leaky house. So it's unfair to judge it right now. I think it would be costing us more in the end. We would just be throwing that money away if we paused right now. So I do want to continue with it, but I want it to be able to that we can afford it. Right now, it's not clear to me that we can continue investing at the same level. Like I'm looking out your window at Almond Street, a tremendously expensive intervention for bike lanes at Almond and Agricola recently. There are some others in the neighborhood. That's not. I don't see any path where that's sustainable for every bike lane across the city. We just those times are over. We're in a different economic reality now, and it's an interesting observation to say that the entire council, with the exception of I believe 2 councillors, and most of the staff, except for the people that are very senior and have been there for a very long time, have never steered the municipality through financially difficult moments. It's been a time of plenty for the last 10 or 15 years in HRM. So this is really new, and people are going to have to get their head around it in a way that we can still deliver those core services but not put an undue burden on the taxpayers in this moment when, as I said, affordability is the burning issue for every single person who lives here.
Very quickly, Mayor, before we go to the phones, Dartmouth Cove, you're the mayor. The Premier was asked about it yesterday, and it feels like the latest salvo in this ongoing situation. He called the process pretty political, and he called the motion that was passed by council ambiguous and not cohesive.
Well, I said this during the debates, and it was a good debate at council. It was respectful, which we all really appreciated. But I said then that I supported the staff position, which was do not proceed with the bylaw restricting infill at this time. Instead, let the technical rigor and the public consultation of what's called the Downtown Dartmouth Revitalization Plan unfold. And then at the end of that, that's when we do bylaws. That's good planning process. So I stand by that position. I think the bylaw was put in haste. And one of the reasons I wanted the staff recommendation to go ahead is because there is this jurisdictional and legislative uncertainty that now is bubbling to the surface. And also it puts us at legal risk to be sued by the proponent because it's essentially it could be deemed a land taking. Do you know what I mean? Like we're taking away value from expropriation, exactly. Which the city is embroiled right now in a very complicated and expensive lawsuit with another development group. We don't want to have this be version 2.0 of that. So we are where we are. We're going to see what the provincial minister does with this now. He's got 30 days from yesterday to make up his mind, and it's entirely up to him, and we'll see where it all lands.
Going to just grab one quick phone call. Chris, how you doing? Got about 3 minutes, so let's make her quick.
Okay, good morning, gentlemen. Mr. Mayor, we're being told by councillors that they're going to be looking at a potential 10% increase in our property tax rate. How can a 10% be calculated without even knowing what the new tax assessments are going to be for 2026? And also, we're being told by at least one councillor, Sam Austin, I believe, that said that in order to keep the tax rate flat, they need to shave 40 to 50 million off of the budget somewhere. 40 to 50 million is a lot less than 10% of the gross brought in by property taxes. How do you explain those numbers?
Yeah. Hey, Chris. Thanks. Nice to hear from you. So let me just talk about that 10% first. Make sure we're talking about the same thing. So what the initial indications we have on this year's municipal budget is that the budget itself will be 10% bigger than last year's budget. So not a 10% increase in the tax rate, a 10% larger budget. How that translates into what percentage increase on the tax rate, very complicated calculation. That calculation hasn't been done yet. So we'll see where that leads. So that 10% increase is what we were calling a bare bones budget. Dan and I were talking about this on the break. I passed a motion in the summer saying to staff, when you bring the budget back, only allow increases for inflation, for collective agreements and other contracts that are already inked. And then, of course, you have to leave a door open for whatever other decisions council might make that you don't expect, things out of left field. And so that's what they're doing. The draft budget right now is that bare bones budget. And just those things I mentioned, those three areas, have increased it 10%. So that's a tough spot. So that's not a flat tax rate. We're going to see what mood council is in when it comes time to make those hard decisions. As I've said in the first half of the segment this morning, I'm hoping to make sure the council is focusing on delivery of core services and not coloring outside the lines into non-core services or into things that are clearly outside of our mandate.
Thanks, Chris. We're just about out of time. Mayor Fillmore, very quickly, you mentioning that there's a bit of a Blue Jays party happening downtown.
I hope to see a big crowd down at Rogers Square. That's the Grafton Street underneath the convention center. 9:00 tonight. All the overhead TVs will be lit up with the game. We'll be wearing our Blue Jays gear come wind or sideways rain or whatever it is. So I hope to see a good crowd out there, and go Jays go.
Prediction on the game tonight?
Oh, I think we got this.
There you go. You heard it from the mayor first. Mayor Fillmore, appreciate it. Happy Halloween. Eat some chocolate.
Thanks, Dan. I'll get my energy boost on the way out.
And we'll have to do this again very shortly. That is the mayor of HRM, Andy Fillmore. We're going to take a break. You're listening to the Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Alstrand. We're back in minutes. Welcome back. It is a spooky edition of the Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Alstrand. Hope you're having a fantastic day. Hope you enjoyed our conversation with the mayor. Hope you learned some more things. I think we tried to cover as much stuff as we could in the limited time that we had. I did suggest to the mayor that maybe he needs to do what the premier does and come in for an hour, and we'll open up the phone lines. And I think he's keen to do that. So we'll see if we can make that work. As I'm putting extra pressure on Vanessa here on Friday. I don't know if it's going to happen tomorrow, but we're certainly going to work on it. It is Halloween. It is going ahead. We were talking with the mayor here before we went on the air, and apparently there was a bit of discussion about maybe postponing Halloween Eve tonight, like other municipalities have done. I'm thinking Summerside. I think Charlottetown did. I think Bathurst did as well. I think the community of Membertou had their Thanksgiving, their Halloween last night. But I think, and we'll get an update later in the show today. But I think the rain's going to let off a little bit, so hopefully you'll be able to get out and get some treats before you go home and do what our next guest is going to be doing tonight, and that, of course, is watching Game 6 of the World Series and the Toronto Blue Jays, and that is Tim Power's laugh that you hear.
I'm laughing with you, buddy. I'm laughing with you. I'm laughing also. Look, I respect what municipal authorities do, but Dan, when you and I were young and the snowdrifts were 10 feet high, we didn't get thrown off by rain and wind. We went and shook down our neighbors and got candy. But I know times have changed, and we must think of safety.
Walked to school both ways uphill in our dad's slippers, we did.
and carried all the wood that we chopped. I mean,
Right.
We were just superhuman, but there you go. That's the world in which we live. Got to be safe, not sorry.
Canadians distracted, I think, this week, Tim, with the World Series. What do you think?
And thanks be to goodness for that, Dan. Like everywhere I go, store, same for you. Restaurant, you go pick your kids up at school. That's all people are talking about, and it should be. I as I said to you last week, I remember 30 years ago and how exciting that was. The first one was awesome, and then of course the second one with the incredible home run. And given the timing we're living in right now, wouldn't it be nice for a bunch of Americans wearing the maple leaf on their chest to beat another bunch of Americans, and we can claim the World Series?
It would be something else, wouldn't it? It would. I think that Toronto would be it has been for the last week. It's been insane there when the Jays have been playing, and if they win tonight, I think it'll be quite the celebration on Yonge Street.
Yeah, and not just there. I think all across the country. I mean, I think Halloween parties, if it looks good, could get pretty rambunctious tonight. And even if it gets to Game 7, I mean, let's not take these Dodgers easily. And this guy Yamamoto, as you know, he's a machine. I mean, he shut the Jays down last time, and they are the defending champions. So this may take an extra game, and the Dodgers aren't going to roll over. But I starting to believe they can do it. I hope I've not jinxed them now. Don't hold it on me if they don't win. But nonetheless, what a run.
Mark Carney out of the country this week. I'm sure he probably wants to be in Toronto rather than sitting across a round table that was too high for him with Donald Trump.
Yeah, but I don't know if you saw the video. You probably saw the video. I don't know if the listeners did of him running yesterday in Korea, I believe it was, and he had a Jay's hoodie on doing that when he was out for his morning run, because, of course, he runs all the time. Yeah, he had a big meeting, the Prime Minister did, or as they are billing it, the PMO, with the Chinese President Xi Jinping, and, apparently that was positive. I don't think you're a Sino expert. I am not. These meetings are important, but what does it mean? Are the Chinese going to be less invasive in our society from a security perspective? Likely not. But does it bring relief soon to particularly on our coast, our fishers? That isn't clear yet. I don't think there's a deal. I haven't heard one yet on tariffs, but Carney's agenda, and it would be Poilievre's too, I think, if he was there, is to broaden our trading relationship. We already have a pretty good one with China in terms of volume, but we need more in more places, given the way it is with the U.S. right now.
Surprised that there was a wave and a point and a hey, how you doing between Trump and Carney when they met. It was in Korea, wasn't it?
Not the least. I mean, Donald Trump is like the friend we all have who, overreacts to everything, is extremely emotional in his reactions, and then 3 or 4 days later, it's as if nothing happened at all. Unfortunately, that friend that we have is not president of the United States, and that friend that we have is probably more rational than Donald Trump, but that's Trump, right? So we'll see, what happens and what doesn't happen and what Trump's next distraction is. It's just really tough for so many people who need tariff relief on the industries that are being whacked right now because it's impacting their own jobs and their own pocketbooks.
It's interesting times, and is Doug Ford in the doghouse now, do you think?
No, I don't think. There's an Angus Reid poll out today I just saw before I went on with you, Dan, that says Canadians, Ontarians like that. They wanted the ads to run a little longer, I believe is what the headline was suggesting. I may have some of that wrong, but I don't think he's in the doghouse. I think part of that was always what he was contriving, right? But who knows?
We know that the budget's coming on Tuesday.
And you know, Dan, as I'm talking to you now, one of your other guests, Dr. John Gillis, is calling me. Doesn't he know, Dr. Gillis, I'm on with Dan right now?
There you go.
Come on.
Tell him to wait a minute, will you?
Wait, John, wait.
Anyway, Tim, the budget on Tuesday, we've been getting snippets here, snippets there. Little teaser here, little teaser there. Is there going to be anything that knocks Canadians over and floors them out of this budget?
That's a good question. Look, I guess the question is, we've seen the silly election speculation game pick up a bit from when you and I talked about
never
it
going to happen.
week.
It's never going to happen.
I'm with you. Nobody really wants one. And this isn't 1980. 1980 wasn't an accident. That the budget, just the Liberals couldn't support it at the end for a whole bunch of reasons, and it was poorly managed by the progressive Conservatives. But I think people will lose. If there were an election, whoever triggered it and let it happen would pay the price, because I think people are just exhausted and they want stability. Then we need at least a year of stability to try and sort things out with Trump. Anyway, goodies in the budget, I don't know. I'm interested to see what austerity looks like. I'm interested to see what these generational investments look like. I think the provinces are going to be keen to see if Carney is true to his word on protecting health transfers. And you'll remember when Paul Martin started the series of austere budgets with Mr. Chrétien, they froze all those, the Canada Health and Social Transfer. If that happens, the provinces will lose their poop. But I don't think that's going to happen. The military investments, what will we actually see in there? That means a lot to us in Atlantic Canada.
For sure.
So and there might be some trinkets and baubles in there that are there to, maybe get an NDP vote or a Bloc vote. But I don't know. I really don't know what the full narrative is going to be, because it's come out in different chapters and they've not been woven together yet.
Here's why I think we're not going to see a federal election. The Conservative Party is having a leadership review in January, so they're not even completely set yet on their leader, even though we know that this review is more procedure rather than to take a look at the leadership of Pierre Paul. You have the NDP just starting their leadership race. They don't have a leader. They're in disarray. They are financially strapped, and so why would anybody even trigger this election?
Well, the only kind of theory that the NDP will push back on, or some in the NDP will push back on, is, well, we're sick of supporting Liberals, and is it really going to hurt us that much anyway? Maybe we get to 12 seats. I think that's kind of...
Or maybe you get eliminated, period.
Yeah. I kind of think that's weak-kneed thinking, and an election does cost money. I saw a theory mounted today where they'd only focus on winning 5 more seats. Well, yeah, they're squeezed out, right? So I think there will be 3 New Democrats, or some Bloc members will disappear, and they'll find a way to pass, because it's only 3 votes that's required. 2 even if there's a tie and the Speaker breaks the tie.
Tim, almost out of time. You are watching the game tonight, I would imagine. Any prediction? Are you think they're going to win it?
They do well in game. Apparently, they've never lost a Game 6 in the World Series. Now, they've only had 2 before, so things happen in 3, right, Dan? So let's keep that record, get it to 3. I think they can do it, but it's going to be tough against Yamamoto.
Absolutely, I think that's the whole linchpin is the mound tonight, and if Yamamoto can continue, and we wouldn't this wouldn't be the Tim Powers weekly check in without us talking about the New York Jets, who won a game last week.
Listen, somewhere Todd is delighted and delusional, and that's what we want. Todd, enjoy the one win. It'll be another 7 or 8 weeks before you get another, buddy. We love you.
Thanks, Tim. Go Jays, go.
Take care, buddy. Bye.
That is Tim Powers from Summa Strategies and Abacus Data. I know Todd was probably going, "You're not talking about the Jets. They won." Well, they did. They did. But they beat Joe Flacco, who's 97 years old. Anyway, it's a win is a win, as they say in the league. We're going to take another break here on the program. When we come back, we're going to set up Game 6 tonight. Our sports guy, Simon Bennett, will be joining us with his thoughts on tonight and what Toronto looks like right now, because he's there. You're listening to the Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Alstrand. We're back in minutes. Welcome back. I have to tell you that Halloween costume in the Rick House studio, which is perennial a very warm place, would be a long 3 hours. So we had to get back into normal attire, at least semi-normal attire here, because my goodness, it was warm. Anyway, very quickly before we get to Simon, I just checked out the Nova Scotia Power utility outage map, and it looks like that big outage that was impacting a good chunk of the peninsula this morning is now over. There's still about 3,000 customers of Nova Scotia Power that are in the dark as we speak. There's a big outage up there there's a fair-size outage up in Windsor Junction, about 1,200 people up there without electricity, and scattered outages across the province. Something you might want to talk about when we do the open hour. Did you see the piece on CTV last night about their plan, and they being Nova Scotia Power, and their plan to try and keep the lights on using artificial intelligence and maps to see where the trees need to be cut? I'm interested in your thoughts on that. We'll do that coming up here at the top of the clock. It is a big game. I don't even know the descriptor anymore, Simon. Really, the analogy book is now empty with regards to how important tonight's game is.
So everyone's got power to watch the game out there, right?
I hope.
That's the most important thing.
Right.
Biggest game here since Joe Carter's home run in '93. Everyone here is wearing Jays merch, like everybody. It's very comparable to the '90s as to the hysteria, whatever you want to call it, about what tonight could mean. They're having a watch party at Scotiabank Arena next door where the Leafs and Raptors play.
Yep.
Tickets for that sold out in 30 minutes yesterday.
Holy smokes.
That's where we're at. Plus it's Halloween, so it's going to be if they win tonight, it's going to be incredible downtown. I can't even put into words how big tonight could be, and this weekend in general.
All right, Simon. Obviously, it's we still have to play the 9 innings or more, and we can't win ball games on paper. But that all being said, if there's a more formidable task than Yamamoto tonight, I don't know what it is.
I think the one thing that might help them is that when they faced Yamamoto last weekend, they'd never really seen him before in person. It's one thing to watch video, but actually facing him, and he's got 6 different pitches. So you'd like to think that with they kind of dinged up Blake Snell twice, but like other guys they faced twice over the course of the season or the playoffs, they would do better against the second time. So you hope that, as a Jays fan, you hope that they've learned some things. The key, just as it was with any of these games, get him out early enough so you face the bullpen. Now, everyone's rested. They are being very coy, the Dodgers are, as to what they're doing with Shohei Ohtani. Maybe he gets the pitch at some point tonight, or maybe tomorrow if there's a Game 7. But I think it's possible, hopefully, for the Blue Jays, they figure something out by watching all the video and having faced him now.
Simon, how does that work in an American League park?
Well, so it's interesting. Shohei right now is DH and can go back and forth, right?
Yep.
Now, they're talking about having him play the outfield tomorrow, and here's why. If you could have him kind of like Little League style, he starts in the outfield, then switches in to pitch,
right.
and he can go back to the outfield because then you don't lose your DH and
right.
you don't lose Ohtani if he's not effective whenever they bring him in. So all these little things that Dave Roberts has to work with, but the Jays have that too. Like, we talk about Chris Bassett and how great a reliever he's been in the playoffs. They've got him, and it would not surprise me if there's a game tomorrow if Trey Savage surfaces at some point.
I know it's early, and I know that there's still a lot to be played. But if the Jays win this World Series tonight or even tomorrow, the debate will be on MVP, and we tend to think of batters and Vladdy and those kind of things. But I think Savage should win it, right?
Oh, that's tough. I mean, he definitely got some votes, I think, the other night. Vladimir Guerrero Jr., it's almost like, in a way, the Conn Smythe in hockey.
Right.
If he wins it, it'll be his combined effort. He hasn't done anything to not win the MVP. He's hit some big home runs and had some big hits. Maybe someone steals it tonight. Maybe George Springer shows up and is able to play and hits 2 homers, and he grabs it. I think it's still kind of wide open. If it's an award based on the entire postseason run, I think it could be Vladdy. Savage, just how he mowed down hitters, he could absolutely win it. It could be anybody.
Game time here in Atlantic Canada, 9 o'clock tonight. You'll catch all of it. You can watch it on Sportsnet. You can listen to it right here on 95.7 News Radio. There's a watch party at Rogers Square tonight, and that's just here. I would imagine there would be all kinds of things happening around Toronto outside of Scotiabank Arena.
Oh, I think all the bars will be full. They'll be doing, like I said, they're doing Scotiabank Arena, which sold out quickly. There's Nathan Phillips Square, which is sort of in the center hub of the city. That's like our gathering place. They've been doing watch parties there all World Series. There's one in Mississauga out in the west of the city. There's all over the place. There will be people watching the game at various places. Plus, it's Halloween, so I'm sure a lot of backyard parties or house parties. But yeah, there are plenty of watch parties or options to go.
They going to do it tonight, Simon?
I'd like to think so. I'm not going to predict yes, because I don't want to jinx it. I don't think my heart can handle a Game 7, but we'll see.
How about the chocolate? Are you going to consume some chocolate today?
I'm being good. The crew in the morning show here at 680 made cookies this morning, so I'm already one of the cakes that someone brought had, I thought it was a chocolate chip, but it was actually like a chocolate-coated coffee bean.
Oh, my God.
And I wanted to run through a wall. I'm like, I'm going to be, so this is going to get me through the next few hours. No nap for this guy. I'm just going to pace the house and wait for kids to show up to give candy to. I don't know. It's going to be an interesting day.
Just what kids need to see is a man pacing around in his house waiting to give candy. Simon,
average day. This is just a day in the life of me.
Right, absolutely. Simon, enjoy the game tonight, and appreciate you joining us over the World Series here, and go Jays go.
Be well. We'll talk soon, bud.
That is Simon Bennett, the voice of sports here on 95.7 News Radio. Every morning you can hear Simon, and to say that he's excited, I think, is an understatement. To say that the city of Toronto is excited is an understatement. To say that the country is excited is an understatement. I've seen people from coast to coast to coast that are into this, that are behind the Blue Jays. It's very interesting because we only have one Major League Baseball team. And I can tell you from experience when it comes to other sports that saying that you're supporting Toronto if you're in, say, Vancouver is like swearing in church. It's just not done. But the Blue Jays are that one team, other than, of course, Team Canada and the Olympics, that people, there's no regional issues. Everybody's is a Blue Jays fan. And it's a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. And as I mentioned before, and I just want to reiterate what's happening here on the radio station tonight, you'll hear the Blue Jays game on the radio at 95.7 FM. It has to be a radio because we're unable to stream Major League Baseball games. So if you're listening to us right now on your smart speaker, on your phone, or on your computer, or however it is that you do it digitally, you won't be able to hear the game. But the Mooseheads are playing tonight. So you'll be able to hear the Mooseheads game on the stream. So we can give you the best of both worlds here on the show. or on the station. We're going to take another break. Blake is about to pop in here and update us on with what's going on in the news, on the power outage, and, of course, some other things that are happening right now. And on the other side of it, we're going to do the Friday Free-for-All, the last open hour of the week. Your chance to talk about whatever it is you want to talk about. It's a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to hearing from you. The lines are now open, 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. The Friday Free-for-All, often imitated, never duplicated, and it's next. All right, welcome back. It is the Friday Free-for-All, your chance to talk about whatever it is on your mind. This is where I try to keep my comments to a minimum and allow you to talk about something that maybe we've discussed earlier this week, something that we didn't discuss this week and you think needs to be brought to our attention, or whatever it is on your mind. I'm very curious, though, as to what you think is going to happen tonight in Game 6 of the World Series. Are the Toronto Blue Jays going to host that trophy tonight? Are they going to be, for the third time in their history, a World Series champion? How improbable, right? The beginning of the season, obviously we carry the Jays all year round. At the beginning of the season, the discussion around my circle was they're probably going to finish last in the American League East. And that didn't happen. And now we're on the verge of a World Series victory. That might be something you want to talk about. We had a half-hour conversation earlier today with Mayor Andy Fillmore. He talked about a few things. Said the interesting points that came out, at least in my mind, was that he's now put the strong mayor powers behind him. They're gone. He said, I'm done. We're moving on. He said, I'd moved that cloud off of my council colleagues, and we move forward. Something else I want to ask very quickly, and we'll get to the phones here very shortly, as Vanessa is screening a couple of calls. There are some municipalities in Atlantic Canada that have canceled trick-or-treating tonight because of the weather. I think Charlottetown was one, Summerside. I think Bathurst. I think Membertou did as well. They canceled their trick-or-treating, moved it forward last night, moving it to tomorrow. I know there were some discussions that were happening here in HRM. They decided not to. I think you know my feelings on this. I think it was pretty clear yesterday, but for those of you that may be just joining us, I just don't understand why it's rain. And I get it. It's people are going to get wet, and there's some wind out there, but my goodness, folks, this is the Maritimes. This is what we normally get. We didn't get into the summer, right? We're in a drought situation, but this is normal weather for us here, and I don't understand it. A lot of people tell me that it's indicative of the way that we bubble wrap our children these days. Is this a case of bubble wrapping, or does it make sense to delay events so that the weather cooperates? Might be something you want to talk about as well. 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. Let us welcome Chris to the program. Chris, how are you? Hello, Chris. I'm going to stick you on hold, Chris, because you need to turn your radio down. Vanessa will connect back up with you in a second to make sure that you are there. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. The Premier yesterday calling the Dartmouth Cove bylaw ambiguous and said it was politically charged in nature, and says the Minister of Municipal Affairs, or whatever the proper terminology is now, is reviewing and has 30 days to make a decision on whether or not they'll accept that bylaw. That might be something you want to talk about as well. Let's see if Chris is there. Chris, how are you?
Hi, Dan. How are you, buddy?
Good. World Series
good.
Tonight.
Sorry about that. It's the Nova Scotia weather, right?
I hear you.
Blowing pretty good here now, eh?
No, that's the way she blows, my friend.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Anyways, I'm looking forward to watching the game tonight, and I'm also looking forward to. There's a gentleman that calls in once in a while, and his name is he's Mr. I think it's Wright, but it should be wrong, eh?
Okay.
And I hope he eats his words tonight when he said the Dodgers in 5.
Oh, you're talking about Cecil. Yes.
Oh,
of
yeah.
course he'll be on today.
Mr. Red Sox, Boston Patriot fan. Like, he's a Jays hater.
Right.
He hates the Habs.
Yep. Well, that's easy to do, though, really.
Yeah. Oh, my gosh. I'm surprised he's not a Leaf fan.
Well, I am.
Seriously, I hope he enjoys his words tonight. They're going to be finger looking good. Hope he eats them.
We'll certainly challenge him when he calls in today.
Tonight.
I hope so.
The Dodgers in 5?
Yeah.
Is he brain dead?
There you go. Chris.
Oh, my God. You know what? The guy, I like him. I like Cecil. But he's not that smart.
Okay. Well, we'll pass that along to him when he calls, Chris. Are they going to win it tonight?
Okay,
Are they going to wrap it? Are they going to wrap it along?
You betcha. Okay, thank you, Dan.
All right, man. Cheers. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. I'll disagree with Chris. Cecil is a very smart human being. He is a very intelligent and has played sports at a high level and has coached and has been an observer for many years. So he is super intelligent when it comes to it. However, sometimes some of his biases do come through, and we know he's a diehard Red Sox fan and not a big fan of the Blue Jays. But to be fair to him, everybody, like when the regular season, when the World Series started, people were wringing their hands about how the Dodgers matched up against the Blue Jays. And we talked about their 4 starting pitchers. We talked about Shohei Ohtani. We talked about how the Mookie Betts and all of the big bats that they had. We talked about how the Dodgers kind of disposed of the Brewers, who at the time were the best team in baseball, in 4 straight. It's improbable, folks. I really do believe that it is the case. People weren't giving the Jays a chance against the Yankees. People weren't giving the Jays a chance against the Mariners. People weren't giving the Jays a chance against the Dodgers. Yet here we are. It's, I will say, and y'all know that I'm a Jays fan and have been most of my life, if not all. It's going to be a big task tonight. Yamamoto is he's a unicorn, and the Dodgers are full of those unicorns. That all being said, anything can happen when you play the game. That's why we play the games. But the Jays do have 2 chances, right? Let's not forget that as well. And I know that the country will be uniting with the Jays as they move forward. Lots of lines open, everybody. This is the Friday Free-for-All, 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. Get criticism sometimes for talking too much in the open hour. Difficult to have an open hour if you don't call in. That's how it works. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. We're going to take a break. The show continues on the other side. Welcome back. Friday Free-for-All continuing here on the Todd Veinotte Show on a Friday. 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255 is the number. Got some sad news to share before we move off into the segment. We had it's funny how things happen, right? It's very funny how y'all get some kind of inkling of what's going on, and we just Vanessa just received some word that a longtime caller of our program, and that would be Michael from Cape Breton. You can remember his take on things, very set in his ways, and very passionate about his community and his province and his country. Vanessa just receiving word that Michael from Cape Breton has sadly passed away. So we'll send our thoughts out to the friends and family of Michael, and his commentary and his devout steadfast support for the NDP will be missed here on the program. And I again will share our sympathies to his family and his friends. It's kind of a downer on a Friday episode, but wanted to pass that along to you as well. 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. Got an email from Jason who writes and says, "Hey, Dan, Hubbard's boy here." He says, "I live in Brazil," which is near and dear to Vanessa's heart, and where I have a watch party planned for this evening with footlong hot dogs to go with it. Little trivia that not many of you know, but Bo Bichette is in fact Brazilian and plays for the Brazilian national team, as does his brother. I didn't know that. See, I learn something every day on this program. So anyway, there'll be some Blue Jays fans supporting the team moving forward tonight, and if necessary on Game 7 all the way down there in Brazil. And that would be fun, wouldn't it? It's a different culture down there, I'll say, and it would be a fun time. Footlong hot dogs. See, people talking about chocolate today, and footlong hot dogs is making me a bit hungry. Anyway, we'll take care of that when the show's over. 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. Let's go to the phones. And welcome Jamie to the show. Jamie, how are you?
How you doing today, Dan?
I'm all right. What's on your mind?
I just want to say you guys have a great show. I'm an avid listener, and I've called in a couple of times over the years.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
But I listen to you every day. So I'd like to just speak about rent control, if I could.
Sure.
I mean, you have a lady, or I shouldn't say you. The show has a lady on occasionally that's all about. She's an advocate for rent control and landlords are terrible people and all this fun stuff, right?
Okay.
And what I would like to say is, like, there's reasons for everything, right? So the reason why rents have skyrocketed is not because of landlords. The rents have skyrocketed because the federal government has spent $600 billion or $700 billion in the last decade and caused inflation in just about everything.
There was a pandemic that contributed to that too.
Sure, and the pandemic can be part of that, but you don't spend $600 billion because of a pandemic. Like, it's just that's lunacy, right? So, and anyways, my point is that the federal government let all of these people into the country, which we need these people, but it was unmitigated, unlimited migration into Canada over the years, which increases the demand for our housing. It spiked the demand, so prices went up. So instead of getting after landlords, why doesn't that lady redirect her attention to the federal government, which is in fact the cause of the problem? I'm a landlord myself, and no different than somebody selling apples, cars, or chewing gum. I want the market value for whatever product that I'm offering, and that's how mortgages are based, and everything is based on costs, right? So I mean, I understand her frustration, but her frustration should not be with landlords. It should be with the federal government. So when you're an advocate of limiting rent controls and all of this stuff, that's basically Marxism in a can, or communism. I'm not sure the exact technical term, but it certainly isn't capitalism, which is the socioeconomic sort of framework that has enabled us to have the most riches in human history. So people that are crapping on capitalism really should do a little bit of research, because they're grossly misdirected, in my opinion.
Jamie, let me ask you this question: when we talk about rent control and we talk about landlords, I get emails from I get lots of emails every day, as you can imagine, but I get emails from people that are on the complete opposite of opinion of you and say that landlords don't have the right, or our right, to make a profit on their properties, and that it is a human right to have housing. What's your response to that?
It's ridiculous. Then if I have a human right to housing, then I'm going to stop making my mortgage payments. What would be my incentive to make my next mortgage payment?
Right. No, I get it. I absolutely get it. And
no,
why would
it's outright ridiculous?
Why would
anybody that has those rights, in my opinion, should be challenged? And if I could make a suggestion,
sure.
Instead of having, and this may be more difficult to enact than I'm saying, but instead of having, it seems like everybody wants to get on the air, spurt their talking points, and get off. Why don't we have a civilized debate like a very business-like debate. Have maybe Kevin Russell on or something from the
Investment
Landlords
Properties
Group
Association.
There.
Yep.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's right. I think it's the Rental Housing Providers Association of Nova Scotia now. But in any case, like to control rents is like trying to control the price of apples. What happens is if the rent control doesn't meet the costs, then the homes go for sale. And when the homes go for sale, that means there's less supply, and given an existing or increasing demand, that would exacerbate the situation even further. So rent controls, all they will do in the longer term is serve to get landlords out of the business and bring less units to market because it's less attractive. But this lady is able to get on the radio here and unchallenged spout her Marxist talking points, which is the talking points, in my opinion, of a failing philosophy or a failed philosophy. So why she gets airtime unchallenged is beyond me.
Well, we share everybody's opinion, JB. It's kind of what we do here, right?
No, I totally get that. My point is that it should be challenged. Right. And if I'm going on, you should challenge me, like
right.
Assume that I'm incorrect, So, but I'm not bringing communism to the airwaves. You know what I mean? So,
all right, Jamie.
Marxism, so.
I get up again. I have lots of calls now. I want to get to them. I appreciate. Have a good one. Have a good weekend. Happy Halloween. 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. Oh my goodness! Now we're getting busy. Let's welcome Jeff to the show. Jeff, how are you?
Good morning, and thank you for taking my call.
Sure. What's on your mind?
Less serious. I'd like to throw a little fun out there.
Sure.
I don't know if you have time, but I'm asking your callers or your listeners to, being Halloween, if they can remember the scariest, spookiest movie they've ever seen. I know mine would be The Exorcist, which I've never forgotten, but I just leave that with you and see if you get a response.
I appreciate it, Jeff. Happy Halloween.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. The Shining, by far, The Shining. When I see the entry, the opening to that, I still absolutely I can't watch the whole thing. And I don't scare easy. Ask Vanessa. Vanessa, what's your scariest movie?
The Saw series.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. The first one.
The first one. Honestly, the first one, really.
I find that when we start to get into Saw 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 and 10, it starts to get a little bit homogenized. But at the end of the day, The Shining, boy, that one just scares the heck out of me.
Yeah.
Might be something people want to talk about. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. Let's go to the phones. Welcome Dave to the show. Dave, how are you?
Very good, and happy Halloween to all. And I was talking to Vanessa, and I'm sorry to hear about that Michael caller. And, I try to you can't put a face on these folks, right? No. You really can't. But everybody has their opinion, and it's wonderful. And that's why I love the open line show.
That's why we do it.
Exactly. Now, if you don't mind, Bill, I haven't heard from Bill for quite a while.
Bill, we understand, was in the hospital. I don't know if he still is, but as I said yesterday, no news, I think, is good news when it comes to everybody knows Bill Mott. No news is good news, right? So if we hear anything, we certainly will pass it along.
Yes. Now, Halloween, I think talking about kids and bubble wrap, and I'm just looking out the window here, and this storm is really ramping up right now.
Yep.
Perhaps around dinner, things will get a little bit better. But, were you around, Dan, when firecrackers were permitted? And
yeah. Yep.
And
may have lit one off in my own time, but I won't admit that because then I would be admitting guilt.
Yeah, and I think they were actually legal as well. I was out on the West Coast at that time, and I think we get the older kids to buy them for us, and somebody always brought a bunch to the school, and you'd purchase the things, and I don't know how many times I came close to blowing my fingers off,
right?
Because sometimes those fuses, I gather they were probably made in China because I think they were huge in fireworks at that time, and firecrackers maybe still be. But the fuses would sometimes skip on you, and you'd be holding the thing up near your ear, and next thing the thing goes off. But, I think things are corrected a little bit, but I think in some ways, too, we have to remember. Now, remember, last Halloween was awesome. It was I had a mask on, and it was super, super hot, and whereas this year, of course, that's Nova Scotia, right? I think this is our first tropical storm, I guess. This is from the Melissa hurricane.
Parts of it, the moisture is, right? It's
yes. But it's zipping by us right now,
I
guess. And this is sort of the remnants of it, and that's just the way our province rolls at times. But anyway, just thought I'd call in, and I would say I have to agree with your caller on what a great idea, horror movies.
Right.
I worked at a movie theater as a usher and a doorman, Odeon Movie Theaters. Great job, by the way. And I had exorcists that came into our large theater, and I had to lock up the theater at the end of the evenings, and it was sold out almost every night. And it was, having was it Linda Blair? I think I'm trying to remember.
I think it was. I think I stand to be correct, but I think you're right.
It was some things. I don't mind horror movies, but some things are disturbing. You know what I mean? In life, you see some movies that are just, and I don't like that kind of stuff. But Exorcist was, with the head turning around, hovering above the bed. That's my I think fave as far as horror movies goes. And American Werewolf in London was also a fun watch to watch as well. So
appreciate it, Dave.
On that note, thanks, Dan.
Happy Halloween.
Cheers. Thank you. You too, sir.
902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. I know it was the treat of the week, but Blair Witch kind of scared me too. And a quick story about that before we take the break. You know how it was shot with like a live camera and they put those little symbols in the trees? Well, I happened to see that in the fall, and we went out on a photography field trip. Right, we had to when I was in radio school, and one of my friends was being a smart aleck, and we walked into the woods. And he put one of those things in the tree and came back, and I saw it, and everybody kind of freaked out. So Blair Witch is the original Blair Witch, of course, was one that scared the heck out of me as well. Taking a break. Friday Free For All continues on the other side. You're listening to the Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Alstrand. Time for chocolate. We're back in a minute. All right, welcome back. This is the Friday Free For All on the Todd Veinotte Show on a Halloween Friday, 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. We shared the sad news about Michael today, and a number of you have sent me emails with an obit in today's paper wondering if that person is one of our longtime callers. I really don't know how to address that because I don't know for sure, and I really don't want to go on the air and say that so-and-so has passed, and maybe they haven't. So I have got your emails. I know Vanessa's had a couple of calls and emails on it as well. I don't know the answer. So or if we're able to confirm it, then we certainly will pass it along. But I don't want to pronounce somebody deceased that may not be, because that would not be a cool thing to do. 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. Where do we go from here is the question. Let's go to David. David, how are you?
Hi, Dan. Yeah, doing pretty good. Happy Halloween. I just sort of want to continue a conversation we had maybe last week where I sort of called up regarding the cost of construction maybe being the reason why rental prices are so high that, we have these large buildings going up, and large buildings cost a lot more to build. And, for developers to get the return on investment, they have to charge higher rents and stuff. So me sort of laying the blame to some extent on the land use bylaw. And I can't remember your exact words, but you sort of mentioned that you hear density. With
I do all the time.
With the assumption that it's always good. And I think that's true. And I think that's the key point, the assumption. And I guess in economic terms, they call it the moral hazard, where it's sort of the unintended consequences of your policy actions. And I mean, it's hard to see in the dark, right? So you can't sort of anticipate everything, but you do have to allow that things can happen which you didn't plan for and stuff like that. So the reason why I'd say that is true, that I have gone through this sort of draft regional plan in the past, and I've also looked at the mobility plan, and those are very much in that kind of line, that density is good, we need more density, basically as a sort of budgetary issue, that you increase density, therefore you're sort of decreasing infrastructure and capital costs, more people using the same roads, more people using the same sewage and water infrastructure, et cetera, et cetera. But the thing it doesn't address in any of those plans is the actual impact on the price of housing. So that being the moral hazard, that, this laudable goal of wanting to sort of, be budget, fiscally responsible and, reduce pressure on the budget and stuff like that, but not maybe anticipating or realizing that, yes, you could sort of positively impact the budget, but you're going to have a negative impact on the actual prices of the rental housing for the sort of people that have to live in them. So, I would say that is the sort of unintended action of those sort of plans. And I'd even say that sort of the provisions within those plans sort of to address the need for low-income housing, also sort of fall into that trap as well, too, because a lot of it's based on density bonusing. Well, you can only really density bonus in a building that's pretty large anyway. And then by sort of giving them 3 or 4 extra floors, that provides, the developer the profit incentive to sort of provide a few sort of lower priced homes. But basically what you're doing in that case is providing a few lower priced homes within a building where all the other prices, apartments are sort of, more highly priced kind of thing. So, I think in the future, and, maybe it's something to bring up with the councillors on Monday, that they really need to sort of look at those plans again, but with the eye of actual affordable housing prices, for the average sort of just working person and stuff like that. And maybe taking a look at the sort of density and zoning allotments and sort of the types of buildings that they're going to, be promoting, whether they're the sort of more expensive high-rise, heavy concrete construction or sort of mid-rise wood-based structures, infilling, all that kind of thing. So, because like where we are right now, we're seeing more and more, rental units being built, especially if you live in the peninsula area here. So we're increasing the number of homes, but they aren't really going to decrease in the long run the average price of rental homes just because those, rental units themselves are expensive to build and, the cost will have to be recouped on them. So it's, I guess I just sort of wanted to point that out, that maybe
Sure.
It's a bit of an oversight in the regional plan and, blameless because you can't anticipate everything, but perhaps we're sort of seeing the consequences of an over focus on the sort of, increasing density for the sake of budgetary sort of infrastructure costs, but maybe not realizing that we're promoting high price construction and that sort of, taking steps that would sort of promote lower price construction might be a best way to actually sort of reduce, rental prices in the long run.
Thanks, David. Appreciate it.
Yeah, okay, Dan. Thank you. You too. Bye-bye.
902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. Quickly before we go to the phones, I did a radio documentary. Oh, boy, it's probably about 10 years ago now. It was just as this building boom on the peninsula was beginning. What precipitated it was they started tearing down the strip mall that was next door to the radio station, and which is now Monaghan Square. And the question was kind of like, where are all the people coming from to fill all these apartments that are getting built? How wrong was I there? Anyway, had a conversation with somebody, and I don't want to put the quotation onto somebody that I may be wrong. It was a decade ago, but they told me that and it may have changed now because of all the buildings that we have. But the Halifax Peninsula there was more people living on the Halifax Peninsula in the 50s than there were when I did the documentary. We didn't have all these high-rise buildings. It was because there was housing stock, and there were, you remember how the large families were, right? We had 6, 7, 8 kids, and they were all living in a single-family home. And there were more people living on the peninsula then than in the mid 2000s. So. But things have changed. They had one car if they had a car at the time, so there wasn't the congestion. That's why we had all these schools and everything were built, because the density happened at a smaller scale than it's happening now, and the way that we lived has changed. Right? People don't have families of 8, or very few families don't have 8 people in them anymore. And if they do, everybody wants their own bedroom, and that just doesn't happen. Right? It never happened. My parents tell me stories about when they were kids and they lived with their sisters until they moved out in the same room, right? That just doesn't happen much anymore. And I think that's part of what David was talking about. Let's grab one more call here before we take a break. Wayne, how are you?
Not too bad. And yourself?
I'm okay. What's on your mind?
Yeah. Michael's obituary was in the Cape Breton Post.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't live too far from me, but, talk shows were his favorite. And
no doubt.
Back in the 60s, when Norris Nathan had CJCB and invented the talk shows, Talkback it was called, Michael was a frequent caller then.
Right.
But no, he was a great fellow, a great entertainer for sure. But we were talking, you were talking fireworks earlier, and we used to get firecrackers. We could buy a small bunch of firecrackers, and they're only tiny ones for like 5 cents back in the day.
Right.
But we had a young fellow. Well, he was younger than us, but or younger than me anyway. But he had a pocket full of them, and He was out setting off firecrackers, and geez, they ended up catching fire and exploding. And as a kid, he got a bad burn.
Right.
Anyway, you guys have a good day.
Thank you, Wade.
Interesting show as always. Thank you.
I appreciate it. 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. We're going to take another break here on the Friday Free for All. Couple of lines open if you want to get on. Again, 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. We're back in minutes. Welcome back. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. Let's get right to the phones and welcome Kevin to the show. Kevin, how are you?
Good day. How are you doing? It's raining cats and dogs down here at Fancy Lake, Nova Scotia. We got no power, but we got a radio so we can listen to you.
Well, we're glad you still have batteries in the old radio.
She's working good. First of all, The Exorcist, the scariest movie I ever saw. I was 16 years old. I had to sneak in, lie my age to get into it. Scared the heck out of me. I come out of there and demanded my money back because I was underage. I shouldn't have been there. I didn't get my $2 back.
You're lucky you didn't get a kick in the arse.
Oh my God! Yeah. Well, anyway, I couldn't sleep, so I called Patrick Fairley, was my minister at the time. I said, Bill, is there such thing as exorcisms? And he said, yes. Well, I haven't done a thing. I'm 70 years old now. I've never done a thing wrong. I have been a perfect person ever since.
There you go.
Anyway, it scared the life out of me. It still does. I cannot watch that movie to this day. So
Wow.
I like Mary Poppins and The Sound of Music.
There you go.
Anyway, Blue Jay.
Yes, sir.
Not a baseball, know nothing about baseball, but of course I got interested in it. And now I've been up all night watching these games from all over the place, and I'm really excited about it. And I never thought I would ever do. I always found watching baseball rather boring. But now I'm at 70 years old. I'm going to follow these guys from now on.
There you go, new
Blue
fan.
Jays at 7. Somebody in the locker room asked me the other day, and I knew nothing. So just to be cool, Blue Jays in 7. Anyway, it looks like it might go 6 or 7. So anyway, Blue Jays go, Blue Jays go. Thank you.
Hope you get your lights back soon, Kevin.
Okay, bye.
Cheers. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. It's interesting, right? It's very interesting. It's not a nice day out there. I don't want to diminish that at all. I mean, it's as Kevin said, raining cats and dogs, and it's blowy. There's a breeze. It's windy, but immediately massive outages. Well, massive is a big word. Big outages. Right? There's 5,000 customers on the Halifax Peninsula that were in the dark this morning getting ready to go to work. It's mind-boggling. Let's welcome Robin to the show. Robin, how are you?
I'm well, thanks. How are you, Dan?
I am well. What's on your mind?
I want to wish everybody a happy Halloween and that everybody is safe and home in time to watch our Jays take it in the 6th tonight.
There you go. Go Jays, go.
Additionally, I'd like to ask if you or any of your listeners are aware of the report yesterday that indicated quite a big proportion of accidents with Halifax Transit drivers that were preventable. I've got a couple of questions about that. Based on my experience, I've taken Halifax Transit since 2013.
Okay.
And I have, there have been a few incidents, 2 in which my bus were in accidents. And both times, I don't think the driver could have done anything to have prevented them.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm guessing who performed who provided this report? What were their criteria? And how does that balance in terms of other major cities in Canada? I mean, I've taken transit in Toronto and Vancouver when I lived in those cities, and I don't think at all that Halifax Transit drivers are what they are represented in this. So I wonder if you could reach out to somebody at Halifax Transit or any of your other listeners who might know about this. Because I've been really impressed with the drivers here. I know the buses don't run on time, but I have great faith in for a group that's already overworked and underappreciated. I think the timing of this report was especially poor. And that's all I'd like to say.
Have a fantastic Halloween, and good luck tonight for the Jays, and we'll talk to you soon, Robin.
Oh, you know. Thank you so much. Good day.
902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. Let us go to Tracy. Tracy, how are you?
Hi, Dan. I wanted to share a little story related to the Jays.
Sure.
I dropped into the Best Friends store in Tantallon yesterday.
Okay.
They are local and provide treats for our pets.
Mm-hmm.
They offer a lot of Canadian local dog treats, which I always choose. When I got to the cash, the saleswoman referenced a list of products, and I was told that I would get a Blue Jays discount on all the products I chose because they were all Canadian.
Nice.
Go Jays, go.
Go Jays, go. Thanks,
Can't
Tracy.
wait. Okay, thanks. Bye.
902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. It goes back to what I said off the top of the show, guys, that the whole country is or are behind the Blue Jays. I was driving around downtown Halifax yesterday. Store owners and shops have Jays logos or in their windows. The highway signs on the way into work today said "Go Jays, go" on it, right? And that's just Nova Scotia. I've heard from people from Vancouver and from Calgary and from Edmonton who normally think that saying the word Toronto, as I said earlier, is like swearing in church, but they're behind the Blue Jays, right? Even though they're in the center of the universe or whatever vernacular you want to use for Toronto. It is a uniting factor, and it's I think, came at the right, absolute perfect time where we have drifted apart as a country, I would say, on various files, but the Blue Jays is certainly something that we can all rally behind. Let's welcome Owen to the show. Owen, how are you?
Hi, Dan. Doing good. Just a quick comment. I have never seen, there are people watching these games now that never watched sports before.
Right.
And how many people, like, this country is, like, totally united with the Blue Jays. Now, if we could pass that on, there was a philosopher that once said sports is the opiate of a nation. If we could pass this on, okay, to other issues, such as housing, so on and so forth, and get the amount of people involved
right.
That they are right now in the game, I think we would make great progress.
I can't disagree with you, and I think you're 100% correct. It's difficult when we start getting into in the world of politics, though, isn't it?
True, but I will say that it is a nice diversion.
Right.
For a while here, okay, to get our minds off of all of the terrible things that are going on in the world. And it's just so wonderful to see the country come together on this issue.
Absolutely. Agree with you. Happy Halloween, sir.
You too. Bye-bye.
902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255 is the number. We're just about out of time here. A couple of emails that I want to pass along. And again, I'm getting lots of emails from people who have come across an obit in the paper today that could be from one of our main listeners. I don't know for sure, so I really don't want to say it on the air because if we're wrong, then how do you come back from that? Anyway, I know that you're are thinking about the family, and I know that you're thinking about Michael's family and so on and so forth. So we will certainly keep that in our thoughts today. Did you see the result of yesterday's cabinet scrums? And we talked about it with Mayor Fillmore earlier in the show today about the Premier being less than impressed with HRM's decision to put that bylaw in effect to protect Dartmouth Cove. He called it ambiguous. He called it politically motivated. No matter where you're on the side of that, I have trouble with that comment because I'll tell you that I received tons of emails on Dartmouth Cove, and all the councillors that I've spoken to, even those that aren't even close to Dartmouth Cove, received a lot of emails. There was a lot of citizen engagement on that, right? And we often criticize politicians for not doing what their constituents want. I understand it. The people that live around Dartmouth Cove wanted this. And for the Premier to say that it was politically motivated, I think is kind of out of bounds. We know that's not the end of that discussion either. The new Municipal Services Minister is Johnny MacDonald. Kind of a wild name for a politician, isn't it? Anyway, Johnny MacDonald is reviewing it now. Has 30 days, and I'm going to suggest, based on the Premier's comments, that this is probably going to come back, and we're not done with Dartmouth Cove, at least in the short term. Thanks to everyone who picked up the phone, dialed the numbers, and joined the conversation. You truly do make my day when you do it. It's just so nice to talk to people and get their perspectives on anything. Next Halloween, we definitely will remember to do movies because, boy, I got 5 or 6 emails on that. Everybody's The Exorcist, which is interesting. That one scared me, but it didn't scare me a whole lot. Not as much as The Shining did. The Shining, for whatever reason, it still sits there, and I get goosebumps thinking about it. Anyway, I appreciate you joining the conversation. We're going to continue the show after the news here at the top of the hour. Bill Van Gorder is going to join us to talk about old age security benefits. We're going to get the very latest on the weather in about 30 minutes' time from Alistair Alders. I know he's busily going over his charts now to give us a better look at when this rain is going to stop and if we're going to get that window for trick-or-treating tonight. So make sure you're around here at 12:30. Cecil will be here, and I think Cecil's going to eat a little crow today, but we'll see what happens when we talk sports with him as well. And let's not forget, Clinton Wilkins will be stopping by as well to chat with us about what's happening on Mortgage 101 this weekend. That's all ahead of the program. We're getting ready to take our next break, but to send a shout out to Michael, and one of his favorite sayings here on the program is that you got to be good or they're going to bend you over and smack you right in the arse. We're back after the news. All right, welcome back. Hope you're having a dry, can I say? A dry start to your Thanksgiving. I did it again. Maybe I think that turkey and chocolate should be the same thing or in the same food group. It's Halloween, Dan, not Thanksgiving. And we, as I mentioned before the break, are going to give you the very latest in the forecast when we return from the news at the bottom of the hour. So make sure you stick around for that, and we will continue to move forward. Always a pleasure to welcome our next guest to the program. We call him Downtown Paul around here. That is the CEO of the Downtown Halifax Business Commission, and it is Paul McKinnon. Paul, how are you?
Happy Thanksgiving, Dan. How are you?
See, now you're going to confuse me, man. Like it's very easy to do. It doesn't take much.
Thanksgiving is a great holiday, and Halloween's a great holiday. You dress up, and people give you candy. What could be better?
Right. I'm thankful for it. Maybe that's why I call it Maybe that's why I call it Thanksgiving. Anyway, Paul, Thanksgiving in downtown Halifax. People got everything all decorated down there.
Everything's a little bit soggy, but I prefer to think of it as kind of a wet, spooky vibe downtown. So yeah, we're expecting a busy night. Halloween's always a big night downtown Halifax, and of course we've got the Blue Jays playing tonight. So I think a lot of folks will be looking for somewhere inside, or covered, because we're having down in Halifax. We're having a watch party in Rogers Square down by the Convention Center, just above Argyle Street, and of course lots of the bars will be showing the game, and people will be dressed up, and all sorts of craziness happening. So it's wet, but it's exciting.
Could be a perfect storm downtown Halifax tonight if the Jays are successful and they clinch the World Series. Plus it being Halloween, and plus being a Friday night, could be a lot of fun.
I have a very vivid memory of 1992 when the Jays won their first World Series and celebrating with friends down at Pizza Corner. So I don't know. I might have to. Hopefully, I can replicate that tonight. And if not tonight, then tomorrow.
Downtowns in communities, and Halifax it's a community. It's a big community, but it's a community.
Yeah.
Tend to be the hubs of social gatherings and for business and everything else. This is my segue into what we called Paul to join the show and talk about, and that is a call from business leaders to the federal government to more action, let's just say, on things like safety and investing in downtowns.
Exactly, and certainly we always want all levels of government to kind of have an understanding of the importance of downtown from a cultural and a social and in particular an economic standpoint. So there's nothing new that we're talking to all levels of government about these things, but there does seem to be a bit of heightened awareness, and especially with some of our colleagues in Western Canadian cities who are seeing kind of some real challenges, haven't really fully recovered from not only haven't fully recovered from COVID, but are seeing some fairly new challenges happening in their downtowns. We're not quite in the same situation as that in Halifax. Our visitation is over pre-pandemic levels, but there are some concerning signs, and particularly around things to do with public safety. So that was a big part of the message we were taking to Ottawa, is to say, the federal government has a big role to play in things like public safety, and crime, but also in terms of making the right infrastructure investments to make sure that our downtowns are working really well. So this is our annual trip to Ottawa. I joined colleagues from across the country, downtown business colleagues, and we had a lot of, I think, pretty productive meetings.
Earlier this week, Paul, we had a conversation with the Retail Council of Canada calling retail theft an epidemic here in Canada, and I would imagine our downtown's not immune to that.
It's not immune, and certainly if you look at the crime stats for downtown Halifax, and we do monitor these quite closely, what you'll see if you go back again to pre-pandemic times, there was a big jump in crime across the board after the pandemic for a whole host of reasons. And a lot of that is kind of settled back to maybe not normal levels, but it isn't growing. But the piece that we do see continuing to grow is what we call retail crime or retail theft, or essentially kind of crime, small crime, if you will, like under $5,000. But that's shoplifting. That's people breaking and entering after hours, grabbing the till. All that kind of stuff is kind of lumped together in the crime stats. And it's a growing problem in our downtowns. It's a growing problem, in retail sectors everywhere. So it's a growing problem in malls and big box stores too. But we are seeing it increasingly happening in our downtowns, and it's something that we're obviously very concerned about.
Downtowns, as I mentioned, are a draw. They're a hub, and with that comes the retail crime, and also it becomes a bit of a magnet for people that are experiencing homelessness. Particularly here in HRM, is that still a problem with your business owners downtown?
It is. I mean, homelessness was much more visible. I think a couple of years ago, there was a couple of very prominent, tent encampments in downtown. Thankfully, those are not there anymore. And when those encampments were shut down, virtually all those people were moved into housing of some sort, either supportive housing or shelters. So it wasn't like, they were just kind of cleared out or displaced, but there are still a couple of encampments outside of the downtown. And those encampments, as they grow, they just kind of get out of control. They can be magnets for crime. And a lot of times the people living in the encampments are the victims of crime, whether it's drug dealers coming in or people targeting them, to commit crimes like retail theft. So there are still issues with the encampments. And of course, homelessness hasn't gone away. It's maybe just not as visible in our downtowns. And so we really see this, a lot of these issues are a little bit interconnected. It's certainly not to say that homeless people are committing crimes. Some may be, but that's not what we're saying at all. But what we're saying is they can be targets for crime, and they can be recruited into more organized crime rings, which we're seeing. So it's kind of we kind of have a carrot and a stick approach that we're advocating to the federal government. One is that we do need harsher sentences. I mean, what store owners are seeing is just repeat offenders, people coming in, committing crimes, grabbing a bunch of stock off the shelves and running out with it. They may, police are called, they may get arrested, they may go through the court system, and they're back out a day or two later, and they're committing the same crime. And this happens repeatedly. So we would like to see tougher sentencing and bail reform, which the federal government is actually moving on now. So we're very supportive of that. But at the same time, we need much better supports around mental health, around addictions, around deeply affordable housing and supportive housing. So those are all things that are government controlled issues at various levels, and so there's no one solution to any of these issues. They're very complicated, but they do manifest themselves in our downtowns in a very prominent way, and we need to have that multi-sector, multi-government, multi-department approach to them.
Paul, you're also calling on the federal government to invest in downtowns. What should be the role of the federal government downtown?
Well, really, the federal government, I mean, we want the federal government, of course, to understand that downtowns and cities are very important. We sometimes tend to think of Canada as being this big rural nation. And when we picture Canada, we think about, Mounties and maple syrup and mountain ranges and that type of thing. But over 85% of the Canadian population lives in cities. The majority of them living in large cities, and downtowns are critical parts to that. So we really want the federal government to understand the important role that downtowns play in creating vibrant, exciting communities that really drive in the economy. Really, I think the ask of the federal government is not really to come in with a heavy-handed approach, but they need to work with the local communities, whether it's the municipal governments and business commissions, to identify what are those top priorities. The priority in Vancouver for federal investment may not be the same in Halifax. But what we do know is that we're under severe fiscal restraint at the city level. We'll be seeing that in the next budget, at the provincial level to a certain extent. And so the feds really have the money for these major projects. So in Halifax, for instance, I'm sure you hear it all the time, and when people call in, traffic is a huge issue, congestion is a huge issue. The way to solve that is, as we're a growing city, is we really need to have much better public transportation. And so there's a real need for investment in that. It'll have to happen at all three levels, but there's no question the federal government in Halifax needs to come in with some money to invest in a new bus rapid transit system, which both the city and the province have identified as being a top priority for them.
Paul, had the pleasure of taking a walk down Barrington Street earlier this week. Still seeing a couple of storefronts that are empty, some being renovated. What's occupancy like downtown?
Barrington Street it's always up and down. Businesses are coming and going with more frequency than we would like to see. There are some great new places that have opened up, so certainly I would encourage people to come and check out Barrington, and you'll discover something that you didn't even know was there. Barrington is a very complicated street because it acts as it kind of tries to act as a commercial main street, but it's also a main transit thoroughfare. It's a main traffic thoroughfare. It's very loud because of that. And so there are some challenges. It's a historic district. So we're actually working after Christmas with a group of master's planning students at Dalhousie to kind of identify what are those next moves we can take to make Barrington work really well, particularly as a commercial main street. So yeah, there's exciting things happening on Barrington Street, but it doesn't have the same kind of kind of Main Street commercial draw that, say, Spring Garden Road does. And we love that Spring Garden Road is successful, but we really want to bring Barrington back as well. So there's a couple of different things. Some of it's policy, some of it's marketing, some of it's working with the landlords and trying to identify what are the challenges they're having in terms of recruiting tenants. We hear from landlords that the tax levels, of course, are too high, and that means they have to charge a pretty high rent, which maybe isn't viable for businesses. So that, again, like a lot of things, is a bit of a multi-pronged approach, but we are excited to dig into that a little bit deeper and hopefully come up with some good recommendations to improve that.
Some active transportation links have been built downtown on not on Barrington Street, but on Brunswick Street and on Hollis Street. Businesses happy with that? Are they seeing an increase in business because of them?
No, not yet. And I think the issue and particularly with the bike lanes, which have just become a very hot topic, we're supportive of an interconnected bike network in downtown Halifax. We need to have some separated bike lanes. The important thing is they need to be connected so that it makes sense. The challenge, I think, that we've seen with the bike network in Halifax is that often the investments we see, they're disconnected. The HRM will kind of put in a separated lane for a couple of blocks, in one area of the city, and then they'll do another one, a number of blocks away or even further. And so at this point, they're not connected. They seem to take a long time to do. And so as a result, because we've got this kind of disconnected network, cyclists don't like to use them. Cars, when they're sitting in traffic, look and see this empty bike lane. That really annoys them, and they blame the bike lane for the traffic congestion. And so we really I think we almost need to figure out what we're going to do. Are we going to have a good connected bike network? If so, we need to really do it all at once. Or if we're not going to do that, then let's take them out and just go back to cars using the roads. But right now we seem to be kind of caught a little bit in the middle, and I think at the moment it's just creating frustration for everybody. And we hear a lot of this from cyclists as well. People who are avid cyclists that are not happy with the system as it is now and really want to see it improved and much more quickly.
Paul, best of luck with your watch party tonight, and hopefully we'll see you there. And go Jays, go!
Go Jays, go!
That is Paul McKinnon. He is the CEO of the Downtown Halifax Business Commission. When we come back, concerns about potential cuts to old age security benefits. Bill Van Gorder from CARP will be our guest. You're listening to the Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Olstrand. We are back in minutes. Welcome back. This release came to me earlier this week, and it kind of caught me off guard, and it reads, the Canadian Association of Retired Persons, Nova Scotia chapter, and chapters across Canada are sounding the alarm after University of British Columbia professor Dr. Paul Kershew called on the federal government to cancel the old age security increase for Canadians 65 to 74 and to lower the income threshold for eligibility, a move that CARP says would reduce benefits for thousands of middle-income seniors. When we talk about CARP, there's really only one person that we talk to, and that is our good friend Bill Van Gorder. Bill, how are you?
I'm good, Dan. Good afternoon.
Where did this come from? I hadn't heard any of this up until I saw these quotes from Dr. Kershaw.
Well, Kershaw runs an organization called Generation Squeeze, and its main goal seems to be to create what I'd call international or intergenerational tensions, kind of pitting young taxpayers against retirees, saying that young people, as they do, have all kinds of problems with jobs and income and housing, and somehow that's the fault of seniors who are taking away from them. And it's really a ridiculous argument. There are problems, we all agree, at both ends of the age range, but it's not a case of a cause and effect. You can't rob Peter to pay Paul and fix the situation. But he seems to be building on this, and unfortunately, in the last year, he's appeared twice before big liberal meetings, a liberal caucus meeting, another cabinet grouping, spouting this really unfair idea that old age security is a luxury, and of course it's not. It's a lifeline to many seniors, and as far as giving money to people who already are doing well, it gets clawed back by taxes. So it's a false argument, and I think it's probably looks like just a way of trying to build up his organization. But when he has the ear of a liberal government that's looking for a way to save money these days, it worries us.
Bill, changing or canceling OAS or limiting the increases to OAS, that would have an impact on one of our most vulnerable sectors, wouldn't it?
Well, it certainly would. He kind of oversimplifies it by painting all retirees as wealthy fat cat pensioners when we're talking about ordinary people, retired nurses and factory workers and retail workers, and doesn't recognize that aging brings major extra costs. One of the surveys done recently showed that it was an average of $8,000 a year more out-of-pocket expenses when you get to be older for those things that you need to keep yourself healthy, well, and living in dignity in your older life, which is why we say that OAS is a lifeline, not a luxury.
It would take some pretty expensive political capital for a government to even consider something like this, wouldn't it? Because we know that seniors vote, right?
Yeah, you really think it would. Although, why are they listening to this? Why are they even inviting this man to come and speak to them and talk about this sort of thing? So that's what's worrying. Do they not recognize that 90 to 95% of all seniors vote in every election, and like in this part of the country, 25% of the population are seniors? It seems like it's something that they would be very hesitant to do. But we wanted to jump out in front of it and make sure that it wasn't quietly happening in some background, and that everybody could watch what's going to happen, especially in the November budget.
And that's on Tuesday, Bill. What are you expecting to see or what would you like to see from the federal government on that budget on Tuesday?
You see, I think that's part of the conundrum for us and for seniors, is that nobody wants taxes to increase, and we all know that there are areas that money could be saved in terms of activities that aren't necessary anymore. But it's judging what those activities are, and we hope that they will look seriously at reducing costs of many things that have become outpriced, rather than taking away benefits from seniors or from anyone else. There's been some talk of children, the tax breaks that parents get for children might also be at risk. So we'll all be watching closely to make sure that doesn't happen.
Watching the World Series, Bill?
I am, and look, go easy on our mutual friend Cecil A. He's going to be really in the dumps today, and he gloated with me many times over the last year with his guys and my Blue Jays. So, but I'm not going to say a thing. I'm not going to take it out on him. So you be kind to him too.
I'll do my very best, Bill. Does it end tonight, or do we go to Game 7?
Oh, we all know the Blue Jays. They like to do the comeback
They
thing.
do.
So I would not put all my betting money on tonight. On winning the series, yes, I would. I think they're a comeback team that would do it. I hope it happens tonight. But my prediction would be we'll probably go to a 7th game.
Bill, appreciate it. Happy Halloween.
You do, Dan. Thank you very much.
That is Bill Van Gorder from Carp. We're going to stop and take a break. Been teasing it all show. We're going to get the very latest on the forecast. I know many of you are looking to the weather and looking out the window going, I don't know, but we'll see. There may be a window there. I don't know if it's closed. The new data is just out. Alistair Alders will be joining us here right after the news to give us the very latest on the timing of this storm and if we'll see a break in time for trick-or-treating tonight. You are listening to the Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Olstrand. We're back in minutes. All right, welcome back. Dan Olstrand on a chocolate high and getting through the rest of this show as we get ready. Isn't it terrible when people bring chocolates? And I'm the one to blame because I brought the chocolates this time. But isn't it terrible when people bring chocolates to work and you're just sitting there gabbing about the events of the day and what's going on, and you're just sitting there filling your face full of chocolate? It's terrible. It's terrible. Such terrible eating habits. Anyway, maybe we should ban chocolate. Vanessa's looking at me like, absolutely not. Alistair, should we ban chocolate here in the newsroom?
Never. I mean, you know what? We ran that story about, the shrinking size of Halloween candies because of, various factors like the price of cocoa and shrinkflation. They're smaller. You have to eat more to compensate.
That is a theory I can get behind, Alistair Alders. I really can.
Why not, eh?
That voice, of course, is our weather specialist, Alistair Alders, who is here every Friday to update us on the weather. Okay, Alistair, I'm going to put you on the spot, my friend.
Yep.
Everybody's asking the question, when's the rain going to stop?
The million-dollar question. Well, the good news is that, it looks like the worst of this weather, it depends on where you're listening, but in the Halifax area, we'll start to see it tapering off, I think, between about 3 and 4 o'clock, and then certainly as we head towards supper time, the rain will be north and east of Halifax. We could even see a bit of sunshine coming out around 5, 6 o'clock as the trick-or-treaters are heading out. So it might not look like it right now, but it's going to be drying out just in time for trick-or-treating or any Halloween plans for this evening. The winds are still going to be gusty, not as likely as strong during the first half of the evening as what we're seeing out there now. But certainly it looks like wind more the factor than the rain for the trick-or-treaters this evening.
Alistair calling us from near the airport out there in the wilds of Nova Scotia, I call it. Here on the peninsula, I'm looking out the windows and the fog is starting to roll in here.
Yeah, the rain's been pretty heavy out here, all morning. We're starting to see that rain picking up in intensity with the system drawing on the remnants of Melissa to our south, and obviously it is very mild out there, so we're starting to see some more clashes of air masses. So we're certainly seeing not just heavy rain and strong winds, but like you mentioned, some fog out there too, and then eventually a bit of clearing later on, as I mentioned today. So that's good news. Down in Yarmouth, looking at the radar now, it looks like some of the heaviest rain is now moving out of that location. They've had reports of upwards of 50, 60 plus millimeters of rain with this system. So the worst tapering off there, a significant amount of rain, but obviously been hearing from people across all portions of the province, with the lack of rain and the dry wells an ongoing concern. And I said on my social media post this morning that perhaps this rain is more of a treat than a trick on this Halloween, because we certainly do need it.
Absolutely, we do need it. Alistair, beyond today, what's the rest of the weekend looking like?
So, I mean, it's going to be certainly a blustery start to the weekend because what we have happening is this area of low pressure that's slowly approaching the northwest corner of New Brunswick, kind of that New Brunswick-Quebec border tonight. And then we have the remnants of Melissa tracking well offshore. It's going to make a close pass to the Avalon Peninsula in Newfoundland. But essentially what happens is this trough kind of gets not quite stuck over the region, but it's going to very slowly track eastward throughout the day on Saturday and even still lingering for Newfoundland into Sunday. So what that means for us is we're going to be looking at a lot of wind heading into the upcoming weekend. The winds at this time are gusting upwards of 70, for some 80 kilometers per hour. We get a bit of a break early this evening, as I mentioned, gusting, 50, 60, and then picking back up, gusting upwards of 70 or a bit higher overnight, and really winds remaining in that range, sustained 30 to 40, gusting 60 to 70 plus kilometers per hour throughout the day on Sunday. We're not looking at necessarily a lot of wet weather. There will still be a chance of showers, mainly during the first half of the day. Otherwise, we're just dealing with what will probably be, say, a typical November gloomy day with quite a bit of cloud cover, maybe a few peaks of sunshine, but just gray and really windy. We do see improvements on Sunday. The winds do subside. We see some more sunshine in the mix, although I do think the clouds will certainly be a bit stubborn at times. So outdoor plans looking better for the second half of the weekend, while it won't be a washout by any means on Saturday with just a chance of a shower. We're still going to be dealing with a lot of wind through the first half of the weekend, Saturday.
How about the start of the work week, Alistair?
Fair to start Monday. We have a brief ridge of high pressure that moves in, but as we've talked about, this pattern has indeed been changing, and there's another system that's set to move in as we go into and through Tuesday. This one's still obviously a bit uncertain just given the timing, but what we have happening is a trough of low pressure to our north is going to connect with an offshore area of energy to form a stronger area of low pressure. So that's likely to bring in more rain and the potential for some gusty winds as we go through Tuesday and possibly into Wednesday for some of us. The rain could arrive as early as Monday night, depending on the timing, but right now I'm really eyeing Tuesday for this rain and wind, and could be another significant rainmaker with gusty winds. As I mentioned, the low is expected to track over or offshore, so instead of more of, say, an east-southeast wind with this system, it will be certainly more of a east and northeast flow, at least ahead of it, and then obviously the winds become west-southwest behind it. I think what's interesting, and not for Halifax, but some of the guidance showing that the cooler air wrapping into it could bring some mixing with wet snow to parts.
No, you can't say that word in November. Nope, not allowed.
Okay, I'll just stop there. Not for Halifax. I'll leave it at that.
Fair enough, Alistair. Sorry, man, I'm cutting you off, but I can't deal with snow right now. Absolutely not.
That's fine. That's fine. Too early.
All right, man. Appreciate it. Watch the Jays tonight.
Of course, I've been watching the whole series, and I don't want to jinx it, but I feel like it could end tonight. I feel like they could secure it.
Well, if it doesn't, we know where to send the emails.
Yeah, I'll keep an eye on that through the weekend.
Thanks,
but
pal.
Then we have Game 7 too, which we don't want it to get to that point, but
it could.
It could, but at least I think they have the momentum, and in front of home audience at Rogers Center, I think it'll be alive there tonight, and I think that'll give them the drive to hopefully pull out that win tonight, if not tonight, for Game 7.
Thanks, pal. Appreciate it. Have a good weekend and happy Halloween.
Yes, thank you, and happy Halloween to you too.
That is Alistair Alders, our weather specialist here every Friday to give us a look into the weekend. When we come back, I've been looking forward to this all day. Our sports guru, Cecil, will be joining us. You're listening to the Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Ahlstrom. We're back in minutes. All right, welcome back. We're almost at the end of the, I'm not going to say Thanksgiving, Halloween show of the Todd Veinotte Show. Hope you're having a fantastic day. Of course, lots of focus and attention on what's happening at 9 o'clock tonight, and that is Game 6 of the World Series. And the problem with predictions, I will say, is that sometimes you're wrong. Right, Cecil?
Oh, how happy are you?
Like I said, I've been looking forward to this interview all week.
Well, I give the Blue Jays a lot of credit, man. It seems like the roles have been reversed. I thought the Dodgers pitching was going to dominate, and the Blue Jays pitching staff has been incredible, even the bullpen.
Right, which was the question mark going into the playoffs.
Yeah, and they've proved to be the real thing. And quite honestly, remember I said I'd love to see a Game 7.
There you go.
I'd love to see the Blue Jays end it tonight because I'm too scared of what would happen in a Game 7.
Yeah, and I had a conversation with our sports guy in Toronto earlier today, and that the city is just it's at a fever pitch now. Can you imagine what a Game 7 would be like?
Wouldn't that be something for the ratings? They would probably have the highest World Series ratings in years.
All right, Cecil, tell me a little bit about the World Series and your thoughts thus far. What's gone right for the Jays? What's gone wrong for the Dodgers?
I would say what's gone right for the Jays has been their offense has been spectacular, especially our boy Guerrero Jr. Right. He's been incredible. I still wouldn't be pitching to Ohtani, though, if I was Toronto. I mean, that guy, he's amazing. I worry about them tonight because Yamamoto, as far as I'm concerned, has been the best pitcher in the postseason.
Without question.
Gosman has been good, but, if I have to, put my money on one of those two, I'm definitely going with Yamamoto. If he does what he's been doing tonight, if he does tonight what he's been doing so far in the playoffs, it is going to be a Game 7.
Right. No, he's a complete game pitcher too. He can pitch 9 innings. Right.
He's got a rubber arm. Seems like he can throw all day long.
Right. Jays have had timely hitting. Right. They've had important home runs and have been able to play small ball too. So it's not just like they're relying on the long ball to get out of these jams that they're getting in.
And they've been getting it from everybody, up and down the lineup, not just the 1, 2, 3 hitters. And with, I wish Bo Bichette was healthy. I don't think he's 100% yet.
No, I don't think so either.
But still, he's making a contribution to the team, and I think right now that's the most important thing. And if he's able to, get through tonight without any injury. You never know. I think he could be the guy that gets the game-winning RBI.
And Springer is in the lineup, as I understand it, which doesn't do anything but help.
If he's healthy,
right?
I would hate to see him in there, at say 70%, and then hurt himself trying to run something out, when he's not capable. To me, it doesn't even matter who they put in there right now. They're going to do the job.
Right.
Everybody's doing the job.
A lot of the people in the clubhouse are saying that this is a team like they've not seen before, how tight they are and how close they are.
Yeah, well, all teams say that. I'm sure the Dodgers, Dave Roberts would be saying that too.
Fair enough.
About their team.
Cecil, we're just about out of time here. Very quickly, we've got AUS playoffs coming up, right? Football?
Yeah. St. Mary's, St. FX. I don't know. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say St. Mary's.
Go figure. Anyway, Cecil, thanks for joining us. Happy Halloween and go Jays go.
All right. Enjoy your chocolate.
I'll do my best. That is our sports guru, Cecil Wright. I don't think I was too hard on him, even though he did predict that this series was going to be over. The Dodgers would have won it a long time ago. Let's welcome into the studio to tee up what's happening this weekend. I don't know, Clinton, you've been watching the World Series?
Oh, I'm watching it. And maybe some people have even seen my face on there, especially if you're in Halifax and you're streaming on Sportsnet. We did some advertising on there.
Right.
I love the Blue Jays. I actually get to see them this year. I was in Toronto for some meetings, and I got to enjoy a box. So that was really awesome.
Yeah.
And, I'm not a big sports person, believe it or not, but I really love all these major league sports. When you go and you visit it in person, it's just the showmanship and getting to be there is really amazing. But and no one's ever talked about baseball probably as much as they have lately. And I mean, what has it been? 32 years since the Blue Jays
1992,
won.
1993.
Amazing. I remember as a kid and even as a young adult, you'd go to Toronto and you should be able to get tickets for $20.
Right.
Now I hear the stories of people going and it's $2,000.
$2,000. Can you imagine?
That's not just inflation. That is just really that popularity has increased. But the sports in Canada, I think overall, have really, we've gotten some good traction here, and I hope that we'll have more major league teams come, across the country.
And you know what? I've said it earlier, and I'm going to stick to it. That the Blue Jays are kind of a special case for Canadians because with the National Hockey League, there's a number of teams across Canada that people in Vancouver are devout Vancouver Canucks fans and wouldn't cheer for Toronto if it was the last thing going on.
Same thing, Montreal and Toronto
right?
rivalry.
But with the Blue Jays, it seems to be a uniting force. The only time that I can remember the country getting behind a sports franchise was when the Raptors made their run a couple of years ago.
Yes.
And when we go to the Olympics with the national team. That's the only other two occasions I can remember.
Yeah, it's pretty special. And, and I'm not saying it's a U.S. versus Canada thing, but obviously with what's going on across the border, I think people are even more excited about baseball just for the sake that it's Canadian and we've gone this far. So I'm excited, and I'm certainly rooting for the Jays, and I'll be watching.
Clinton's not here to talk about baseball, fair enough. But he is here to tell us a little bit about it's a Mortgage 101 weekend, and you're back, and you've got a half-decent host that's helping you.
I had a pretty good host, Dan. Thank you for filling in. And you know what? It's a really, really good show. November 1st is tomorrow.
Right.
Obviously today is Halloween, and November kicks off Financial Literacy Month. Financial Literacy Month is one of our most important months of the year. Really, this show, Mortgage 101, is all about education, and that's what November is all about. It's a 15-year anniversary for Financial Literacy Month, and it was brought forward by the Financial Consumer Agency of Canada. And it's really about education. And the financial literacy of Canadians, I think the overall is very, very low. And I'm glad
they don't teach it in school.
They don't teach it. And when I was in school, they taught us how to balance a checkbook. Who even uses checks anymore? But they never even talked as much about. We might have learned about how like mortgage interest works from a calculation standpoint.
Correct.
But not really how do the mechanics of buying a home and a mortgage really work. So I'm glad that we're able to break down some of those barriers, and that's why I think listening to the show this weekend is going to be so valuable. And I hope that some people will have conversations at the dinner table.
Focusing on three main areas on this edition of the show. We're focusing on income, we're focusing on credit,
yes,
and we're focusing on assets.
That is correct, and we kind of break each one of them down, and we talk about things about like how can you build your credit up, how can you build your assets, what are the different types of income that we take into consideration when we're doing a mortgage application. It's just very, very daunting for people, and it's not that we're trying to make this super technical, Dan. I just want to increase the knowledge level. And I would say even if we just start with one big topic and we're talking about credit, and that's what we really kind of like leave, a lot of people just don't understand, just from credit monitoring to what are the different credit reporting agencies, what does a unicorn score look like, and, things that you can do to improve your credit and what really makes up that credit score.
I hear it all the time. Well, what do I need for credit rating to get a rate at the bank? Not necessarily just for a mortgage, but for anything. If you want to get a car loan or
rent an apartment these days, honestly.
Right? They check your credit scores now, and we dig into that. We dig into what builds your credit score, what works into your credit score. We also talk about ways to improve your credit score, which most people are trying to do because not all of us, Clinton, are unicorns with our credit score number.
This is true, and now you'll have to listen to the show to figure out what an actual unicorn is. There are a few out there, and I've seen some double unicorns. Very, very rare, but it certainly does happen. And people having perfect credit is fine, but we're giving mortgages to people with all kinds of different credit matrices, and I think that's important to break down as well. Not everyone's credit's perfect. Maybe they've had a missed payment, or maybe they're high on their utilization, but are there paths forward to be able to achieve those dreams of home ownership? And even for existing homeowners, how can they improve their credit to make sure that they're getting their best, borrowing options?
We're also going to focus on income, and that burning question that I'm sure you hear all the time is, how much money do I have to have? How much money do I need to make in order to get a mortgage in Halifax?
Exactly. What is that magic number?
Right.
Well, I can tell you in Halifax, the average home price is somewhere around $600,000. So if you're putting down that minimum down payment, you probably need household income somewhere in that $125,000 to $150,000 range to buy a $600,000 home. Yeah, there's homes that are less. There might be some homes that are $400,000, and when you start getting outside of the city, we see some homes that are in that $300,000 mark. The magic number that we say in terms of mortgage, qualification, typically it's 4 times someone's annual income. yes, we have to take into consideration what debt they have. If do they have a car loan? Do you have a student loan? Do you have other unsecured debts? But the number that I kind of look at when I'm doing, back of the napkin quick math, it's 4 times that annual income. But what income can we use, and what income can go in the application? That's what we really dive into in the show.
It's very. I learned a lot. It's very interesting. It's not just the income that you think of what you go to work and you report every year to Revenue Canada. That we still call it. But if you ever do get to talk to them, but that's another topic for another day. But there's a bunch of different things that you can take into consideration when it comes to your income.
And I think you were surprised by a few of these.
I was.
Like when we talked about child tax benefit.
Right.
And that's something that we definitely use. And, for these people that have kids out there, that can be a significant dollar amount depending on what your personal income is and how many kids you have. So that certainly is a big kind of factor that people just don't think of off the top of their head.
And of course, the Bank of Canada adjusting its overnight lending rate this week. We delve into that a little bit as well.
Busy week for mortgage lending and home ownership here in Canada. Certainly some good news with the Bank of Canada lowering the Q overnight rate. It's made that cost of borrowing for a lot of borrowers less. And I think for anybody going to buy a home or refinance their mortgage or renew their mortgage, variable rate mortgages are certainly more popular this week than they have been in the last few months for sure.
And we were talking about predictions with Cecil earlier.
Yes.
And sometimes predictions go badly wrong, like they did for Cecil. But sometimes predictions go extremely right, like your prediction that we've seen two. You may be extending out that third one a little bit further than you
I'm going to say
said.
January 2026. I really do think we're going to get another rate cut of 25 basis points. And, I was in Ontario. I was in Ottawa last week, and Benjamin Tall, the chief economist for CIBC, he said that we are in a recession here in Canada. And typically what that means, the Bank of Canada will lower the Q overnight rate to start spurring some spending. Challenge is inflation is still up. So they're trying to balance recession with inflation. So I think we're still going to see a 25 basis point cut. Are we going to see it in December? I think the governor of the Bank of Canada basically said, expect a pause here in December, but I'm confident by January we're going to start seeing some cuts going into 2026. So I am cautiously optimistic.
And today we got numbers that Canada's economy shrank 0.3% in August, offsetting a gain of 0.3 for July. So this recession, the R word as you call it, is bearing out to be true. Clinton, the show goes tomorrow at 11 o'clock, and then there's a second edition of it on Sunday. If you miss Saturdays, you can catch it on our website. You can catch it off of your website. I'm looking forward to it.
Thanks for having me, Dan, and have a great weekend and stay safe out there. I know it's rainy right now, but I think the weather's going to turn around here for some trick-or-treaters.
Happy Halloween, everybody. Thanks to Vanessa Vandenez on the other side of the glass. Have a great weekend. We're back on Monday. Until then, people, be well and be kind to one another.